In part 4, I'm going to show you how I finished the Austin Tech Build tables. Today's finishing day. Before I can finish, I had to fill a couple of cracks that were in these tables. I filled it with the West System epoxy. I've got a video on my channel that you can go watch, and I think it might be linked at the end of this. But right now I'm just filling all the cracks that I found with the clear epoxy. Sometimes I use black, sometimes I use clears depending on the piece. And now I'm sanding all that epoxy away and getting everything flat, ready to be finish sanded. It's a lot of sanding in this project. So I'm setting up the router to make the top round over and the bottom chamfer, and I like to do that. I like to chamfer on the bottom because I think it looks really classy, and then round over on the top versus rounding over on both sides. So I'm just sanding all these tables. A majority of this video could have been sanding. Like all of this video could have just been me sanding because that's how long it took. It probably took a full day for all 7 of these tables. But I decided to cut it back because once you've seen one guy sand 7 tables, you've seen it all. So it's rounding over all the tables and putting all the chamfers on, and then the final finish sanding will begin, and that's going to be I sand up to 180 on this project. So my sanding process for these tables are pretty simple. I start with 100 grit, and I sand away all the marks from the drum sander. Then I move to 150, and I finish off at 180. And normally I'll go to 220, sometimes 320, but because this project required a commercial grade finish, I sanded to 180 because it was going to get 3 total coats of finish on the top. And after each spray, I sand with a 220 and then a 320, so it gets really smooth on the top. There's no need to have it 320 on the bottom. So everything's final sanded to 180. And I'm moving all these tables over here to this bucket system. It's spread out just enough that I can spray everything I need to in a small area. And then I'll turn on the exhaust fans and get all the extra overspray out of there and that smell. And it's a nice working system. So this is the first sealer coat on the bottom. I do a sealer coat on the bottom, sealer coat on the top. Then I do the final sand for the sealer coat at 320. It's really important to get all the dust from the sanding off of these guys before you spray it, because that spray polyurethane is just going to trap everything in there. So I am using my Festool vacuum and sucking up all the dust. It's very rare that I spray a commercial grade finish. It's very rare that I use polyurethane. I prefer to not use any sort of polyurethane or introduce any plastic into my domestic work. But these are commercial tables, so they're getting a commercial grade finish. I have sprayed a commercial grade finish twice. So this is the second project that I've sprayed. I use ML Campbell Polarian interior. I put down a sealer coat and then I do 2 top coats. So let me show you how I do it. So after getting the whole HVLP system set up properly, I'm now putting on the sealer coat on the bottom. I spray it, let it sit for an hour and a half, and then I can actually sand it and go on from there, but I decide to actually spray the top, which I decided not to show because it looked the exact same. But here I'm sanding out any of the imperfections in the sealer coat with 220, and then I'll hit it with 320, and it's ready for top coat after all these are sanded down. Alright, so you'll notice that I've got these guys individually spaced out. I've got 8 here, but 7 are for the tech build. 1 is a test, and I really like the round, and I had a little extra left over, so that's what that is. But I've got them spaced out so I can weave in between them when I spray. I use an HVLP spray system. It's not an expensive system. It's a Wagner-based system, and it's taken a little bit of work to get to where I need to spray. And they're all spaced out, and I'm about to spray the first top coat on the top. Time for the top coat. It's just a lot of the exact same finishing techniques. I've got my spray machine set up. It's working great, and so I spray all of them at the exact same time. Then I can go with the subsequent coats after that. It's currently 1:30 p.m. on the same day. I sprayed this morning at about 9 o'clock. It's now 1:30. It's time to do the final sand before the final top coat. I did a sealer coat, a top coat, and I'll do a final top coat as per the instructions from M.L. Campbell. Let's get at it. So this is the second time I've done a large multi-table project within the matter of about 12 months. And so that's been really nice. But it's you kind of forget how much work it is to do the exact same things 7 or 8 times in a row. And that's exactly what this project is. You just have to be really kind of diligent. And it's kind of mind-numbing sometimes, but it's really nice to see the final project, the final process, and the final pieces come out exactly how you envisioned it. So here I'm sanding the 320 before the final spray, and then after that, in the next video coming up is going to be that final assembly of the tables and the walkthrough. So thank you so much for watching, and like and subscribe if you enjoy what you're seeing, and stay tuned for the next one because it's going to be pretty sweet.